Perfect.
Here we are in the steel shop now. I set it up here on the table because I went back and forth about what I was going to do, trying to assemble all these pieces together and everything, and I noticed something. I saw this when I was assembling this piece initially, and I knew I was going to have to kind of come up with a field adjustment for it. So you'll see, I'm trying to get you where you can see here, this piece actually extends down into this little cavity right here. Let's see. Where this board is supposed to, the stretcher is supposed to come across and go in right here. So basically I've already taken the two pieces that go in right here, I've got them in here. Let's go in here into the steel shop or the wood shop. So I've got them here and I've got them marked on my table saw. Now I've already got my depth set for my blade. I've got to set my distance from my blade to my fence, and basically I'm just going to use a little miter there, and I'm going to slide it through and just kind of cut it out. It's like I think 0.830 or something like that. It's not much that we've got to take out of there. I'm just going to take that out with the skill saw with the table saw blade right quick. Alright, so I don't know if some of y'all have noticed, but the way that I'm filming like right now has changed a bit from kind of the way I filmed when I first started this project. So like I said, it's been like a year and a half ago when I started this, and I have made a lot of videos, either be it war machine videos or bat videos or other woodworking videos or side-by-side videos or whatever. And in my constant evolution with this channel to try to constantly make my content better and more interesting and more informative, I realized along the way that sometimes there are ways that I can show you how I did something without showing you it, without doing a 20-minute video of me doing one little thing. I might be able to actually get the same point across in 2 minutes, which obviously is better because you'd much rather watch 2 minutes of something than 30 minutes of the same thing. So I've abbreviated a lot of the things that I've done. I'm going to kind of continue to do that with some of the things, kind of wrapping this thing up a little bit. You don't need to see me sanding in a time lapse for 10 minutes of me sanding in different grits. Like, you get it. You see me sanding it. If there's anything important that I feel like I need to tell you, I'll get it across. And the same with every little part, routering and assembly and all that. Just like, I showed you just a minute ago, okay, hey, we gotta cut this make this little cutout right here in this piece. And so, I kind of showed you what I needed to do, told you how I needed to do it, went ahead and I cut it on both sides how I needed to do it, and was able to get my point across without, having to make a 5-minute time lapse. I hope y'all like that. Like I said, I'm constantly trying to evolve and make the viewing experience better for y'all. That's kind of always my goal. So now, assembling this. Now, putting this one together, I knew was going to be easy because I could put it together right on top of this workbench, because this workbench it's perfectly flat and square and true. So I knew that I could sit it up here, and as long as I make sure everything is square when I screw it together and glue it, I'm good to go. Well, obviously the other side of this is the long side, and it's 7 feet long. It is longer than this table. I think this one's only, I don't know, 5.5, 6 feet long. I don't think it's 6 actually. 5.5, 5, something like that. It's not even 6 feet long. So obviously I can't build that whole thing. I can't put all of this together on one because it's 10 feet long altogether. So what I have come to terms with doing is I have the 2 legs for the one side of the longer section of the table. So what I'm going to do is my plan is to go ahead and attach this together and make this one full section that would be 3 feet, and then we'll come back when it's time to put the other half of it on. I think it'll be easier for me to work out that way. I could be very wrong about that, but I've looked at it a lot, and I think that's how it's going to work out. So essentially, I'm going to do the same thing. I've gone over and I've marked where I'm going to put screws in each end of the pieces here, everywhere they need to go. So now we just got to get down to the fit up here and kind of put it all together and getting the holes drilled and figuring out where I want to put screws and all that good kind of stuff so we can glue this guy up. So I'm just going to kind of let it run and we'll time lapse this, and if there's anything that really super interesting that happens that I feel like I need to tell you about, then I'll slow her down and I'll tell you about it, and then we'll speed her back up so you can see me kind of get this all together. It's going to be the same process as this was. Basically, I'm going to stick it up here. I'm going to use quick grips to hold it all in place, and we're going to drill some holes. I did do a little bit better job of kind of lining up where I wanted to put my holes and stuff on these, even though they're going to be inside and probably never get seen. I was a little disappointed in myself. I didn't really take a lot of good time as far as when I was putting all these holes in. I just kind of eyeballed them and got them close. And I mean, they don't look bad, and it's still a workbench and nobody will ever notice it, but I see it and it bugs me. So nonetheless, I'm gonna get started kind of sticking this guy together and see if we can't get it all dry fitted before we glue her up. All right, well, that's how it goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there. I'm gonna throw the other side together, then I'll kind of come back and with a recap, and unless something really cool happens in the middle. So we'll be right back. All right, well, you saw me kind of do a quick little dry fit there, kind of show you how I work all that out. Basically just screw it all together. I got everything else all drilled and screwed in place, tore it all back down. So now we are ready to glue this thing together for the final time. I'm super excited. So what I like to do, because now all the holes have been pre-drilled and I've shot the screws in to make sure everything's all lined up good, checked everything for square, we're good to go. So what I like to do is I'll put all the screws back in, and you see I'll screw them through with it just a little bit proud where they come through. Because the reason why is once I put all that glue on there, I can't see where the holes are most of the time. So what I can do is I can stick it up there and I can kind of slowly kind of pull it in and shake it, and all of a sudden you'll feel it kind of drop into the hole where it's supposed to be. And it works out real good like that, because then I know where I need to be, so I can go in and zip it in. Everything should line up back exactly where it should. You have to be careful when you do that, because if you have too much of the screw sticking out, when you go to tighten it down, the screw will actually tighten to the piece that you're trying to affix. It'll get tight to that before it tightens the two pieces together. So what I'll usually do is once I zip the first one in, I just kind of snug it, and I'll back the other two out and then run them back in all the way where they're good and firm, and then back this other one out and run it back in just for good measure. That way I know I get a good squish in there and a good tight press fit. Now there's another thing that I will 100% guarantee. You see I've got my wax paper down so I don't get glue all over this workbench, which probably I could stand to sand the top and refinish it anyway, but whatever, another day. I will have glue absolutely everywhere because I'm one of those people, I just don't believe that you can have too much glue. If glue is what we're using to hold this dude together, I want to make sure we got plenty of it everywhere. So I'll probably wind up with it in my beard, in my hair, on my hands, on my shirt, my pants. It's going to be everywhere, and I'll have to just scrape and sand it off, but whatever. I would rather know that this dude is held together as strongly as it possibly can be than to even think, maybe I didn't get enough glue somewhere on it. That's just how I roll. So I guess without further ado, I will kick on some music for you to listen to, and we'll time lapse this dude while I throw her together. So let's get rolling.
Perfect.
Alrighty, so back in the wood shop, and you see we got our workbench taking shape right there. Now I did go ahead and clean up where all the dowels and everything, and get them all ground off and sanded and everything. You already saw me do that, and I didn't make them as perfect as I try to make all these on the outside because they don't really show anyway, but I did flatten them out nice. So now what we have here is what I'm going to call a field adjustment. So if you look over here at our original drawing, you can see where originally on the long side, I was going to have another set of uprights in the center right there. Let me let that. And when I was using kind of all of my scrap material up to make the legs, that somehow I wound up with I was one leg short. And to be real honest with you, I didn't feel like making another one. And the one that I had, which is right here, I don't know, we'll use that for something else. It was somehow worked out to be just a shade bit smaller than the rest of them. So at that point, I could either make the rest of them a little bit smaller or just omit one leg. So I went with omitting the one leg. So looking across that, you know, this thing is going to be 7 feet long. I think it's 7 foot 1 inch is what I'm working on the base of this thing to be. And, you know, the stretchers on the small section of the table, they were 1 inch thick underneath there. And I got to think about it, man, spanning 7 feet, that could possibly get a little bit of sag in the middle. I don't think it would because this hickory is extremely hard, but maybe, you never know. So I went and grabbed some slabs like that off my stacks, and I made me 4 new stretchers that are 2 inches thick. And them bad boys right there are hardy and heavy, but they should do the trick. I don't imagine they'll sag. I mean, you look in here, that bench in there, I think it's 6 foot and change, something like that. And I've got 0 sag in that guy. It's been a champ so far. So now I'm at the point. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to make a half lap right here. So if you remember, we've got our cutout still made in our legs over there, and they are set to fit 1 inch stretchers. So what we're going to actually do is I'm going to cut 1 inch out of the ends of each one of these stretchers. That way, once I set them on there, everything will still fit nice and flush, and we'll attach it as normal. But we'll also have a nice shoulder right here that will sit against our legs and help to kind of interlock everything all together just that much more. So the problem that I had right here, I stared at this thing forever trying to think of what was going to be the easiest way to try to cut this in the ends of those. And I don't know. I mean, I guess I could have probably used my bandsaw, but I don't have a lot of luck getting just perfect cuts with that thing. I really use it more for roughing material in than anything. But on this, I'm going to want it to be right. That way it fits together with our legs over there just right. So what I did is I've got my lap all measured out where it should go right here. I've got this locked down in place. My thought process is I'm going to use this plunge router right here with that flush cut bit right there. And I'm going to just work my way down right here on the edge slowly and work it down in there until I get where my bearing will hit. Then I'm going to come over and I'm going to trim it right on this line. And I'm going to trim it until I get the depth that I want. Then I'm just going to kind of, once I get the depth that I want at my line where I want, I'm just going to kind of work over with it. And I'll move this board that way. Once I get it cut down in there, I won't need to move that board anymore. I'm just going to work my way out with that router and chew that material out. Hopefully that works really good. If not, well, these stretchers are going to be about 3 inches shorter because I'm just going to whoosh right off the end of that and start over again with a new plan. So hopefully you understood all that. Hopefully it all works just quite swimmingly. So I'll set you up where you can watch me kind of whittle this dude out, and we'll see how it turns out. So here we have our finished product. I finally just stopped the camera from recording because this took forever to do. Now, I will say it did work out, you know, really nicely. Everything came out great. I mean, you know, I got the depth right and all that. You can see it is not perfect. There's a couple little wonky cuts in there here and there, but I've already kind of laid the leg into it a little bit. It all fits together fantastic. I mean, it worked great. Is there a lot easier ways to do it? God, probably. Yeah, I'd say so. If I had it to do over again, I would have left these, you know, the full thickness, and I would have just cut more out of the leg itself, because I could have done that with, I could have done that on the table saw with the dado stack. You know, I could have just, you know, a little bit deeper into that. It would have been just fine, but I mean, it's done. You know, like I said, we got both ends. They're all done. So next step up for this thing is we're going to dig these legs out, and we're going to get the little stretchers out that go between them, and get kind of the end cap built for this thing, and get it all screwed together. And then we'll see about trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to put these legs on this thing, or these stretchers that go side to side on it. And you know, we'll figure that all out. So I'm going to start getting this junk out, and we'll figure it out.
There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want. Playing games, no. There's no denying what we want. There's no denying what we want.
Hi. All right, so you'll kind of have to forgive my rudimentary setup here. With the length of this thing, I was kind of struggling with where I was gonna kind of set this all up to glue the long section of these legs. You see, I kind of got the base that we just built. I got it propped up over there. I got the rest of this kind of laid out. That way I could sit the stretchers out across here. They should sit nice and square, and then I should be able to sit the other legs. Should be able to sit them right here, and they should sit on that stretcher. Should be able to get all that screwed together. I have went ahead and checked it. That end of the this end of the base is all level. Everything down here is level with it as well, so when we set it up, should all sit level. We'll get the bottom ones put on, screwed in place, then we'll set our top ones up here, get them screwed in place, we'll get everything drilled, and then I'm going to come back and one board at a time, we'll glue them up and screw them back together, so can finally be kind of, well, we'll be at least wrapping up, putting together the base of this thing anyway, man. I'm ready. It's been a long time coming. All right, well, that sucked a little. I mean, no, it didn't. It actually went together really nice, but just a fair bit of work fitting it all together. So I pre-drilled these on the workbench over there before, I put them up here. That way, once I got them locked into place, it'd be easier. All I have to do is just drill into the leg itself. And of course, I got a little gap right here where I screwed up on my cuts on these two legs right here. And I pre-drilled holes right where there is nothing. So my plan eventually is to come back and I might cut some little slugs and glue them in place. And if so, maybe I'll go ahead and drive some wood dowels in that then. But for now, I'm just gonna let it ride. So probably done for the night tonight. So probably come back tomorrow and take it apart one board at a time and glue her all together. Pretty excited about that, because like I said, then our base is finally built, because then we just got to come back and drill all this out and drive pegs in it all, or dowels, and then, man, we'll be really close then. So we'll see you tomorrow. Whew, buddy. All right, so we're back, and I lied. I said I was gonna come back the next night. It's actually been 3 days, because, well, life happens, and I'm sure all of y'all know that. We all, you know, we have our own crap going on, right? But we are back. We are going to get this thing glued together. So I've been staring at it for a few minutes. You see I got my wax paper right there. I'm gonna need to put some down there. I'll put some down there in just a minute. And I've been staring at this thing for a few minutes, trying to figure out what is going to be the easiest way for me to do this by myself, because handling these is a pain in the butt, you know, because they do fit tight into these tendons, I guess, for a better way of saying it. They fit tight, and it's hard, you know, when I'm by myself trying to kind of wrestle them around, much less when there's glue running everywhere. That's going to make it even tougher. So what I think I want to try to do is I'm going to take the screws out of one end, or I'll just take the screws out of both ends of them, and I'm going to try to maybe see if I can bump one end at a time out of it, like, and then when I start the screws in it, I'll try to start like the farthest screws out and get them started. That way it'll still kind of let it move just a little bit. I don't know if that will work. That's my plan right now, though. So I guess wish me some luck here. I mean, if not, I will, you know, I'll take the whole stupid thing off, and then I don't know, that might be the way to do it too. Yeah, because I want to put some glue on the leg side and the stretcher. So I guess that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop them off of there. I'll lay it down, and I'll put some glue on the stretcher itself. Then I'll come back and I'll put some glue in the leg, and I'm just going to have to stick it up here and beat this dude into place. I'm going to do them one at a time. That way, hopefully, the other three that are still on will kind of hold it all nice and square and everything, because everything is good and square right now. Hopefully, it'll all hold it nice and square, and it'll go moderately smoothly. Hopefully, nothing extreme happens. So I'm gonna throw a little wax paper down there, and then we'll get going on this thing. All right, well, I don't know if I've ever actually addressed this before, but I start out with 60 grit, and the goal when I'm sanding with 60 grit is really just to knock everything down perfectly smooth and flat, and to kind of get it roughly, I guess, to shape, more or less that way. There's no edges when you feel across anything. You can't even feel where the dowels are anymore. And get it all, it's not supposed to be super slick right now. It's supposed to be shaped out now. We got those 2 holes on both sides. I don't know what I'm gonna do about that just yet. Probably just gonna leave them alone for right now. I hate that I did that because it's gonna be ugly. There's not really much I can do about it at this point. As far as sandpaper, I guess I really discussed what I use for sandpaper. I don't really use anything special. I just use this 3M stuff that I can get from Home Depot and put it on the palm sander. Now I will say, the key when you're sanding things like this, and you got some uneven stuff, some stuff that maybe doesn't fit just perfect, is holding your sander perfectly flat. Now I know that's not gonna be easy. It's gonna wanna walk around and move and all that, but hold it with 2 hands if you need to, but whatever you do, hold it completely flat. Keep moving. Resist that urge to tilt it up on one side or one corner, because if you do that, you're gonna cut a groove into it. You're gonna cut a spot into it. Just hold it perfectly flat. Keep it moving over everything. It'll flatten everything out really nice. So now from here, I'm basically gonna go over everything with 80 grit, and then 150, and then 220, and just kind of work it all the way up. Because like you can see right here, you can see the difference in the color between right here where I've sanded and right here where I haven't sanded. So I'll go over all of the areas that I just sanded with 60, with 80 grit, and then 150 real good. Then we'll go over and I'll knock over the outside, just the outside rails, and right here with 150 and 220 to kind of rough them up and or not rough them up, but kind of slick them down a little bit. Then we'll be ready to come over with a router. I don't really know what happened right here. It's a little bit off. Both sides were like that. There's a couple of areas that were like that. Not super happy with that, but it's gonna be what it'll be now. But nonetheless, then we'll come back over here and we gotta router all these edges down, and I'll be ready to move on to the next phase. So while I got this thing flipped upside down, we got all our finish work done. I really hate that. I hate doing sanding and all that finish work. Oh, it's just monotonous and time consuming, and it really, everybody hates it, whatever. So what I had planned to do is get my son to come down, and probably my daughter too, and help me kind of, like maybe me and him could pick this up and she could move all the stands out from under it, something along those lines, but they just took off to go to the mall. So I'm here all by myself, and obviously I am not moving this thing by myself. So what I do have is I got these little adjustable feet. Now, yes, it is all nice and square, and if the floor were perfectly flat and in a perfect world, it would sit perfectly on the floor, no problemo. Well, this may come as a big surprise to y'all. My concrete floor in my shop, not perfectly flat. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put these little adjustable feet on here. Hopefully it won't need them, but in the event that it does, I got them. I can use them. So let me grab me a square. All right, so basically I'm just gonna put them on the inside and just kind of center them up on the foot best I can here. This is not the square that I want. Nah, it'll work. Let's see here. This one is, all right, so it's 3 1/4. So I'm looking for 1 5/8, which is right here. This is awesome. I love working upside down and all that. Now, does it matter if I get it perfect? Absolutely not. But am I gonna try? Well, I'm gonna try to get it close anyway. The biggest thing is that basically I've got it turned all the way into its lowest point. So I'm gonna set that where it is right here. I want the lowest point of the foot to be at the lowest point of the foot itself. If you're picking up what I'm putting down there. All right, well, this is a pain in the butt. I can't see if it's square or not, but I do have one little spot marked already. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pre-drill this hole. I'm gonna put a screw in it. Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna kind of try to level this thing off right here where it needs to be. And then we'll just screw her in place, easy peasy. There again, with all this hickory like this, I do go ahead and pre-drill everything, because if not, it will grab those threads and it will snap that screw right off in there right quickly. So actually, what I should be able to do now is just measure down to the center of where this hole is right here, move over here to the other side, and then kind of mark it, and then I'll check it. Where are we at here? So really, if I was halfway smart, I would just measure it from here down to here and made a line that I could just stuck it on. That's probably what I'm gonna do for the rest of them, because this right here is for the birds. The way I'm doing it right now, stupid, don't do it this way. All right, this is a terrible idea. So I'm just gonna measure this and do what I just said. I don't know why sometimes I just have to be so hard-headed and have to do everything the stinking hard way. Oh, look at that. 2 5/8 is perfect. Jeez Louise. I make things so much harder on myself sometimes than they have to be. Oh, now all I gotta do is just measure. Look at that, 2. We're gonna go 1/16 longer, because I would rather open that up just a little bit than be a little bit short. So then all I gotta do is come right here. Oh man, look at that. Now I got a perfect little line I can put it on here. Oh yeah, buddy. Yeah. Good God. Could I shake any more? Luckily, these holes are just a wee bit bigger than these screws, so it will move just a little bit. So now we've got them marked, 3 of the 4 of them anyway, and I'm gonna go ahead and drill these bottom 2, and we'll put the screws in there. And when I get level like I want, we'll drill the top 2 and put them in. I feel like I made that way harder than it really had to be. Now you also notice that I'm gonna do 2 things right here. One, I'm gonna take a little bit of this here wax that I use on my all the beds of my equipment, and I'm gonna put on that screw, and I'm going to use a screwdriver instead of a power tool to put this in. Well, you just figured out what the wax is for. See how easy and smooth this dude's going in? That is really nice. I'm gonna use this, that way I don't either strip out the hole or snap that screw off in there. Ask me how I know, better than to do that. Yeah, you guessed it. I had to redo some stuff one time because I was just gonna run that dude in there right quick like normal, and I hit the trigger, and I mean it zipped it in there and popped that screw before I could even think to stop. But I saw on a video I was watching of a guy one day, he used like silicone out of a caulk tube to lubricate his screws before he put them in, And I thought that was pretty slick, and I'd use it a time or two. It works really, 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 really good. And I just happen to have plenty of this beeswax and mineral oil that I use for like oil and cutting boards and things like that. So I just went ahead and put that stuff on there, and man, it worked really good. So now all I gotta do is just put some, just a hair, and it looks like they are pretty much dead on balls on my line. Good and snug. Good and snug. So now I'm just gonna drill those two, put screws in them, just like we just did. This stuff is handy to have around. I use it for all types of stuff. Not only can you use it for cutting boards, but you can use it to, like I said, put on the beds of your cast iron tools to keep them from rusting. Use them as lubricant for screws. I've actually used it as a lube where I've got two things of wood that slide against each other for like fitting things together and whatnot. It works good for that, because I mean, it just soaks into the wood. It doesn't hurt anything. It's got wax in it, so helps everything move really, really nice. That is perfect. All right, now all we gotta do is do that 7 more times. And these actually adjust really easily. They've either got where you can put a flathead in them from the top right here, or you can use a 1/2-inch wrench from the bottom. So they're pretty nice, and they're said to hold, I think, 600 pounds a pair. Well, this thing don't weigh 600 pounds. Well, it don't weigh 600 yet. Time I put stuff on it, it might. Who knows? So, anywho, I'm gonna get to doing on these other 7, and we come back. Hopefully, this thing will be flipped over where we can put the tops on it. So, see you in just a second.